Here is Jonathan Head of the BBC here in Thailand. He's also part of the Foreign Correspondents Club of Thailand, and altogether they interfere in Thailand's and Southeast Asia's internal political affairs, and they do so under the guise of journalism. So what's Jonathan Head up to these days? He's complaining about the Thai government's treatment of Francis. He's one of these so-called student activists, student leaders of the anti-government protests here in Thailand. He, a couple of months ago, led a violent mob that tried to block the Queen's motorcade in the city in public streets. And they tried to block it. They were cursing at the motorcade. They were threatening the motorcade. And now Francis is in big trouble for doing this because he was leading them. But let's look at Jonathan Head, what he's saying. This is what the BBC is trying to say. This is a terrible abuse of an archaic law. What's he talking about? He's talking about Section 110, violence against the Queen. And all it is a law that says what happens if you threaten or carry out violence against the Queen. And it's no different than all of these laws under Title 18 of U.S. Code. This is Section 115. Just to give you an example, one example, influencing, impeding, or retaliating against a federal official by threatening or injuring a family member. So you can see the laws are very specific and cover every conceivable instance here. And you could go to jail for up to 30 years under this law. So there's absolutely nothing archaic about the laws in Thailand. So what is this? This is what the BBC and other Western media organizations always do. Anyone outside of the West is considered backwards and barbaric. Their laws are deemed archaic, even if they're exactly the same as the laws in the West. And this is a throwback to the racism of British imperialism throughout the centuries. And it's quite shocking that it's 2021 and we still have people like Jonathan Head doing this. What else does he say? This young man posed no threat to the Queen and showed no intention to block her motorcade, which drove into an ongoing protest. Well, he's kind of contradicting himself, isn't he? Because if it drove into the ongoing protests, it would have been blocked. The protest blocked the motorcade. And he's just trying to twist it around as if it was somehow the Queen's fault for driving on public roads and not somehow the protesters' fault for illegally blocking public roads. And at the end of the day, what is Jonathan trying to do? He's trying to make Francis look like he's this innocent, young, intelligent, hardworking student activist that the archaic, backwards, barbaric Thai government is just picking on. And of course, that's not who Francis really is. That's Jonathan Head creating a fictional character in place of who Francis really is. Who is Francis really? This is who he is. These motherfuckers are on my kill list. This is Francis making a death threat against Angelo Giuliano and Tom Foudy, and these are both outspoken critics of U.S. foreign policy, and in particular, U.S. interference in places like China, in Hong Kong, for example. I don't know Tom personally, but I do know Angelo. He's a good guy. He has helped me out a lot, and his adopted home of Hong Kong was under attack by U.S.-backed mobs rioting in the streets, and he came out at great risk to himself and his family to speak out against them and to help turn the tide against them and restore peace and order to Hong Kong. And here is Francis threatening to kill both of these men. But let's go back to this tweet. Should we believe Jonathan Head of the BBC that lies about everything, that gets caught red-handed signing secret contracts with the British government to spread misinformation and carry out influence operations around the globe? Should we believe Jonathan Head about who Francis is and what he did? Or should we believe Francis himself and the words he himself posted publicly, exposing himself as an aggressive, abusive, and violent thug? This is the kind of guy who would lead a violent mob in the streets to block the Queen's motorcade. It's the kind of guy who would encourage them to attack and threaten the motorcade. It's the kind of guy who belongs in jail. For this tweet alone, he belongs in jail. This is a death threat. You go to jail for that in any country, not just in Thailand. I wanted to point that out. The English language media here in Thailand, people like Jonathan Head are going to whitewash Francis and make him look like a victim when he is actually the perpetrator here. I'm going to tell you the truth. I'm going to show you what Francis has done in the past. These death threats, this aggressive, abusive behavior of his. I'm going to show people that. If you thought this video was useful, please like and share it. think about subscribing to the channel. It helps the channel grow and it's free to do. Check the video description for ways you can help support my work so that I can continue doing videos like this. And as always, thank you for watching.